Hello. Good evening, everybody. So let's be honest, college comes with its own set of survival skills, and for many of us, including me especially, caffeine is the very top of the list. And we've all had those nights where we've had to cram for like those exams or do a lot of homework, or honestly, just whenever we wake up just to feel energized, we reach for like a coffee, soda, energy drink. My personal favorite are energy drinks, but you never really stop to think what you're putting in your body. And it's definitely important that we start doing that, but I know that I push back like headaches or like random jitters that I get from caffeine. And that's actually what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk about why college students should definitely take a closer look at their caffeine habits and the real effects that caffeine has on our health and the healthier alternatives that we can incorporate in our routines so it won't leave us feeling more dependent on when we can have the next caffeinated beverage. So today I'll be going over three main ideas. It'll be why college students are some of the biggest caffeine consumers, how caffeine actually works in the body, and how it creates negative effects in it, and finally how we can include healthier ways in our routine to help boost energy without relying on caffeine. So as students, we kind of convince ourselves that caffeine is the only way that keeps us functioning, and honestly, that could be true, but we know that studies show that over 90% of college students consume caffeine every single day. And that's about like 9 out of 10 students. So most students get it from like coffee, tea, soda. It's kind of in everything. I know that there's like a loaded tea place that has caffeine in it that I know a lot of students get. Or even like diet sodas, which I didn't know before still has caffeine in it. And interestingly, research shows that male students tend to rely more on energy drinks, while female students gravitate more towards coffee and teas. And especially with midterms and finals coming up, caffeine becomes less of a drink and more of a survival tactic. And students report that it improves focus, makes them feel alert, and fight fatigue. But what most people don't realize is that those are all short-term effects and how much they're actually consuming over time throughout the course of the week. And I've definitely used caffeine as a quick solution to stay awake, but like many other students, I never really fully understood how caffeine works in the body and what it's doing kind of behind the scenes. So that's where things kind of get concerning. So let's break it down. Caffeine works by blocking a chemical in your brain called adenosine. And when adenosine builds up, it tells your brain that it's like sleep time. And when caffeine blocks, your brain gets triggered into thinking that it's still energized. So according to Cleveland Clinic, this process makes you feel awake, but it also disrupts your natural sleep cycle. And that's why you tend to feel less sleepy during hours that you actually need to go to sleep when you've been cramming like nights before. So that's not the only effect. The American Medical Association also noted that caffeine temporarily raises your blood pressure and heart rate, which is especially risky for people who already deal with stress, anxiety, and limited sleep. And in a meta-analysis by Liu in 2024, researchers found that caffeine slightly increases anxiety, especially in young adults, basically our age group, who are under intense academic pressure. So even though caffeine feels like it's helping us in many ways, it's kind of quietly making things worse and putting like a performative cover over our brains thinking that it's helping us during that time. And once caffeine becomes a part of your everyday routine, it kind of traps you in the cycle that affects your sleep, stress, and overall health, to where if you want to just go to sleep by like 9 p.m., but you've had all these energy drinks the nights before, you're not going to be able to go to sleep. You're going to feel very energized around that time if you had no caffeine that day. And that kind of brings me to what happens next, how caffeine affects your daily life. So when students consume high levels of caffeine, it doesn't just affect the energy, it also affects the entire body. Research shows that students who consume more caffeine usually have worse sleep quality and more exhaustion during the next morning. So what do? Drink more caffeine because they're feeling exhausted again, which kind of continues the cycle. And studies show how strong relationships between caffeine and increased anxiety symptoms. And many students don't realize that their anxiety actually spikes, and it could be tied to their amount of caffeine, but they're taking that caffeine so they don't feel those thoughts and are not exhausted. And here's another big one. Caffeine withdrawal symptoms can start after just one day without it. And I have a personal experience from this. I remember that I was drinking energy drinks literally like for an entire week. And on that weekend, when I didn't have an energy drink that day, I started getting like these really bad headaches and I get like really jittery. And I was like, what is happening to me? But it's because I was so reliant on caffeine that week. And that when I didn't have it, it was like crazy. And basically everything that we try to avoid by drinking caffeine ends up happening to us when we don't have it. So doctors explain that the solution to this isn't to completely cut out caffeine out of your life, but it's about moderation and finding the balance that gives you benefits without all the negative effects. So no, I'm not here to have you throw away your Celsius and you can never drink coffee again or something. But I'm here to say that we need to use caffeine more wisely and not rely on it as like an emotional support beverage, which I'm definitely guilty of sometimes. And caffeine might seem like a secret weapon of college success, but consuming too much of it can do the exact opposite. It harbors mental health, disrupts sleep, increases anxiety, and even makes it harder to function, which is the very thing we need it to do in the first place. So, to wrap up everything, college students rely heavily on caffeine to stay alert and focused. Excessive caffeine can affect the brain chemistry, sleep quality, and anxiety levels within a person. And the solution isn't to eliminate it, but it's by moderation, awareness, and choosing healthier energy boosters, such as different teas or going to the gym. Exercise can also boost energy. So next time you go to grab that energy drink from your fridge or the third coffee of your day, just remind yourself that caffeine isn't going to always solve your problem, it's just going to delay it. And choosing rest, hydration, and balance instead of relying on a temporary buzz is definitely going to be better for you in the long run, and your body will thank you later.